Welcome to Audit the Audit, where we sort out the who and what and the right and wrong of police interactions. This episode covers the right to travel, the distinction between Terry stops and traffic stops, and inventory searches of vehicles, and is brought to us by Bodycam Files' channel. Be sure to check out the description below and give them the credit that they deserve. On January 17th, 2022, Officer Sean Banks of the Gulf Breeze Police Department in Gulf Breeze, Florida, stopped 34-year-old driver Haley Brooke Smith for allegedly driving 54 miles per hour in a 35 mile per hour zone. After Ms. Smith pulled her vehicle over, Officer Banks approached the driver's side window and began to question her.
Officer Banks, Gulf Breeze Police Department. I'm pulling you over. You're doing 54 and a 35. Any reason for that speed tonight?
Where's the 35?
Before you got off the bridge, and as soon as you came off the bridge. All this is 35.
I was going 40, I thought.
Nope. You got your license, registration, and proof of insurance.
You don't have to have a license to drive a car.
Yes, you do.
You do not?
15-7, 41 with me. Ma'am, step out the vehicle. Step out the vehicle.
Am I a crime?
Yeah, you are being detained right now. Step out the vehicle, young lady.
I know my rights.
Either you step out the vehicle or I will remove you from the vehicle.
I know my rights.
15-7, sovereign citizen. No, you need to step out the vehicle right now. Young lady, step out the vehicle. Step out the vehicle. Last time I'm going to ask you. I'm going to ask, and then I'm going to make you step out the vehicle.
You're going to get me a supervisor out here right now. I know my rights.
What right is that?
I do not have to have a driver's license to drive a car. This is not a commercial vehicle.
Okay.
I know my rights.
Okay.
Very well.
That's what you want to stick with?
Call a supervisor.
Okay.
Right now.
All right.
Right now.
Or else what?
I know my rights.
If I don't call a supervisor, or else what?
I guess we're not going to go anywhere then.
Okay. What? So do you have an ID or you have a driver's license?
No, I don't have a driver's license on me.
Okay. Do you have one issued to you?
In Mississippi.
In Mississippi. So why would you need a driver's license to drive on the road if you don't need a license?
That was years ago.
Oh, I already told you my name. It's Officer Banks.
What is your badge number?
It's Officer Banks.
Are you failing to...
Are you failing to give me your driver's license?
I don't have to give you a driver's license to drive a car. This is not a commercial vehicle.
Okay.
I'm not driving, I'm traveling.
Okay.
I have all the laws back here.
Okay. So you're not going to give me a driver's license?
I'm not going to give you a driver's license. I don't have to give you a driver's license.
Okay.
I'm traveling. I don't have to have a driver's license to drive a vehicle.
Okay. In what state is that?
Any state. It's common law, natural law.
Okay.
Constitutional law.
Okay.
You need to get a supervisor out here.
I do?
Yes.
Okay.
Officer Banks asks Ms. Smith for her driver's license, and she claims that she does not need a driver's license because she is traveling, not driving. Although Section 322.03 of the Florida statutes requires drivers to be licensed and states that, quote, a person may not drive any motor vehicle upon a highway in this state unless such person has a valid license, Ms. Smith asserts that she does not need a license because she has a so-called right to travel, which is a common argument among individuals who subscribe to sovereign citizen ideologies when confronted by law enforcement during traffic stops. To support this contention, followers of such beliefs often cite decisions such as the 1958 case of Kent versus Dulles, in which the Supreme Court stated that, quote, the right to travel is a part of the liberty of which the citizen cannot be deprived without due process of law under the Fifth Amendment. However, in the 1915 case of Hendrick versus Maryland, the Supreme Court held that, quote, a state may rightfully prescribe uniform regulations necessary for public safety and order in respect to the operation upon its highways of all motor vehicles, and that to this end, quote, it may require the registration of such vehicles and the licensing of their drivers. Likewise, courts that have reviewed arguments claiming licensing requirements interfere with an individual's right to travel have repeatedly rejected them. For instance, the Supreme Court of North Dakota concluded in the 1996 case of Bismarck versus Stewart that, quote, no court has ever held that it is an impermissible infringement upon a citizen's constitutional right to travel for the legislature to decree that every person who operates a motor vehicle on public roads must have a valid operator's license. Because, now quoting again, the legislature has the constitutional police power to ensure safe drivers and safe roads. Similarly, the U.S. District Court for Colorado determined in the 2012 case of Harvey versus Weld County District Attorney that, quote, it is a valid exercise of the state's police power to require all all persons who operate motor vehicles on state highways to possess a valid driver's license. Because, now quoting again, the right to travel, like the right to free exercise of religion, is fundamental but not absolute. And, quoting again, requiring a driver's license is a reasonable and necessary regulation which does not offend due process. Because this legal principle is virtually undisputed, it is highly likely that a court would conclude that Ms. Smith was required to have a driver's license to drive legally, and that this requirement did not infringe on her right to travel. Ms. Smith also argued that she does not need a license because she was not operating a commercial vehicle, which is another popular argument used in sovereign citizen ideologies. This belief is based on Section 31 of Title 18 of the U.S. Code, which defines a motor vehicle as, quote, every description of carriage or other contrivance propelled or drawn by mechanical power and used for commercial purposes on the highways and the transportation of passengers and property, or property and cargo. However, this definition only applies to Chapter 2 of Title 18 of the U.S. Code, and different definitions of the term motor vehicle apply to state laws and even other portions of the U.S. Code. Section 322.01 of the Florida statutes, which is the definition that is used in Florida's driver's license statute, defines a motor vehicle as, quote, any self-propelled vehicle, including a motor vehicle combination, not operated upon rails or guideway, excluding vehicles moved solely by human power, motorized wheelchairs, and electric bicycles, and includes a separate definition for commercial motor vehicles. Therefore, a court would almost certainly reject Ms. Smith's argument that licenses are only required for commercial vehicles and conclude that Ms. Smith needed a driver's license to operate a non-commercial motor vehicle.
So what law?
Your supervisor.
So just like I'm requesting your driver's license.
Well, I'm sorry, I don't have to have a driver's license to drive a vehicle.
Okay. Sorry, Turner. A, she won't identify. She won't produce a driver's license. She's doing 58.
Yes. So, you do need a license to drive a vehicle. And you do have to identify yourself to these officers.
I do not have to have a license to drive a vehicle.
Yes, you do.
I do not.
You're wrong, but okay.
I know common law, natural law.
I don't care about common law. You're in the state of Florida. So at this point in time, I need you to shut the vehicle off and step out of the car.
I'm not getting out of the vehicle.
You're going to get out of the car.
I haven't been suspected of a crime.
You are being legally stopped on a traffic stop. You are not being cooperative. It is not a Terry stop. Trust me, I know the difference. You were speeding. Turn the vehicle off and get out of the car.
Ms. Smith claims she is being subjected to a Terry stop, but Sergeant Turner argues it is a traffic stop. Now, in general, a police stop of a vehicle is considered to be a constitutional detention if it is justified by either reasonable suspicion of a criminal offense under Terry or probable cause to believe a traffic violation has occurred. Now, while traffic stops and Terry stops require different standards of proof, and traffic stops based on probable cause confer officers with authority to make custodial arrests, in practice, the two types of detention function similarly. For instance, the Supreme Court noted in the 2015 case of Rodriguez versus United States that the, quote, relatively brief encounter of a routine traffic stop is, quote, more analogous to a so-called Terry stop than to a formal arrest, and that, now quoting again, like a Terry stop, the tolerable duration of police inquiries in the traffic stop context is determined by the seizure's, quote-unquote, mission, that is, to address the traffic violation that warranted the stop and attend to related safety concerns. Likewise, in the 2019 case of United States versus Gibbs, the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals stated that, quote, in evaluating both traffic and Terry stops, we examined whether the officer's action was justified at its inception, that is, whether the officer had probable cause or reasonable suspicion to initiate the stop, and whether the stop was reasonably related in scope to the circumstances that justified it in the first place. Accordingly, assuming that Sergeant Turner had probable cause to believe that Miss Smith was speeding, it appears that she was technically the subject of a traffic stop and not a Terry stop based on reasonable suspicion, although the distinction between the type of stop did not impact many practical considerations in how the detention actually played out.
Out of the car now. Undo the
Let
seatbelt.
me turn the vehicle off.
Turn it off now.
Officer Schaefer, unbuckle her.
Put all that down.
Step out, turn around, face away from me. Turn around, face away
Turn
from me.
around.
I do not have to have a driver's license to drive a vehicle.
Yes, you do.
I need to call.
Have a seat.
I need to call somebody. Yes, I do.
You call somebody from Santa Rosa County Jail.
I live right down there.
Where's your ID out of, or your license out of?
Mississippi.
I just thought you didn't have one. You
Sir,
just said you don't need one.
This is ridiculous.
It's not ridiculous. We're
Yes,
not going
it
to play
is.
any of these games with you tonight.
You can't arrest me. I haven't done anything wrong.
If you don't have a valid driver's license, we most certainly can.
Can I at least lock my car?
We will make sure it is secure.
What are you going to do with my car?
Probably tow it.
Why?
Because you are driving without a license.
Sergeant, please.
You don't have a license.
Okay, I'll never drive again.
Yes, you will. Because you believe you don't have to have a license.
I'll go get a driver's license tomorrow.
Well, wait a minute. Now you're telling me that you'll go get a license.
Because you're telling me that I have no
believe
choice.
You don't. That's correct. You have no choice. You failed to appear on a court appearance for, what was it, expired license? So you had a court date that you missed. Do you remember that?
No, I don't.
You do have a warrant out of Santa Rosa County. Well, you are going to jail tonight.
Well, thank you, Sergeant Turner.
You're welcome. What
Can I
we
please
want
just
you
call
to
my mother?
understand is there are laws that you have to follow. Whether you agree with them or not is a moot point. Because if you choose not to follow them and you continue to act like this and do this, you're just going to constantly be going to jail.
Okay,
You're not
well,
the
then
first
you would know
one.
it's not garbage.
You're not the first person I've run across that thinks this way. So here's what I am curious about. Because you're right, I do want to know more. Is that your car?
Yes, that's my
So
car.
you're the registered owner of that car.
Yes.
So at one point it had a valid tag and registration.
Right. Because if I rode around without any tag, that would just be asking you for trouble.
So instead, you're okay just riding around with an illegal expired tag.
I have to do whatever I have, run through these hoops that y'all put us through just to get by.
Excuse me. Give me your full name. Give me your full name. Drugs inside the vehicle. You are under arrest now for possession of felony narcotics.
I didn't give y'all permission to search my vehicle either.
Your vehicle's being towed. We're inventorying it. We're not searching it.
Yes, you are. You're searching my vehicle.
After the officers inform Ms. Smith that her automobile will be towed, they find cocaine in a backpack on the front passenger floor. Ms. Smith argues that she did not consent to a search of the vehicle, and Sergeant Turner responds that they are quote-unquote inventorying it because it is being towed, which does not require her consent. In the 1976 case of South Dakota versus Opperman, the Supreme Court held that an inventory search of a vehicle that has been lawfully impounded is considered reasonable under the Fourth Amendment, even without a warrant, because quote, inventory procedures serve to protect an owner's property while it is in the custody of the police, to ensure against claims of lost, stolen, or vandalized property, and to guard the police from danger. Building on this decision, in the 1987 case of Colorado versus Bertine, the Supreme Court upheld the constitutionality of a search of a closed backpack as part of an inventory process when the standard local police procedures for impounding vehicles, quote, mandated a detailed inventory involving the opening of containers and the listing of their contents, ultimately determining that, quote, reasonable police regulations relating to inventory procedures administered in good faith satisfy the Fourth Amendment. However, in the 1990 case of Florida versus Wells, the Supreme Court concluded that a search of a locked suitcase in the trunk of an impounded car was unconstitutional because there were no department policies, now quoting, with respect to the opening of closed containers encountered during an inventory search. Now, the Gulf Breeze Police Department has not made its policies publicly available, but policy number 11.04.04 of the Florida Highway Patrol Policy Manual states that anytime an inventory of a vehicle is conducted, quote, the passenger compartment of the vehicle, including all packages and containers, will be inventoried, and any property contained therein will be listed on the report. Therefore, as long as the Gulf Breeze Police Department had an impoundment policy similar to the one used by the Florida Highway Patrol, a court would most likely conclude that the officer's search of Ms. Smith's backpack was lawful, since it is well settled that inventory searches that follow reasonable department policies are permissible under the Fourth Amendment.
You say that our laws don't matter to you, so what does it matter?
I don't have to mind laws that aren't valid.
They're valid laws.
They are not valid laws.
The United States and the state of Florida seem to think they are.
The United States has a constitution.
I know the Constitution too. I also know that the states have the right to govern themselves.
Has been turned into
Decide which laws to follow.
I don't take orders from anybody.
Nobody's giving you
except
orders.
God.
Nobody's giving you orders.
After the officers ran Ms. Smith's information, records revealed an active warrant for her arrest for failing to appear at a previous court date for driving with an expired license. Additionally, although Ms. Smith did not claim ownership of the cocaine found in the vehicle, the officers concluded that Ms. Smith was driving under the influence based on their observations and her behavior. Officers did not conduct field sobriety tests before taking her into custody, and arrest records show that she was charged with operating a motor vehicle without a valid license, driving under the influence, possession of drug equipment, and possession of cocaine. Court records indicate that Ms. Smith was also charged with speeding and driving with expired tags, and as of the date of writing this episode, the cases for those charges remain open. However, no court records were found for the DUI and drug charges. This may indicate that Ms. Smith successfully completed a diversion program, such as Florida's drug courts, which allow nonviolent drug offenders to participate in a 12-month treatment program in exchange for having the charges against them dropped and then applied to have the records sealed. However, it is also possible that she was never formally charged with these offenses. Overall, the Gulf Breeze officers get an A for maintaining a professional and respectful demeanor throughout the encounter, demonstrating a reasonable understanding of the relevant laws, and avoiding unnecessarily escalating the interaction to a physical confrontation when Ms. Smith refused to comply with their orders. Although I cannot say for certain whether the officers were in compliance with department procedures when inventorying Ms. Smith's vehicle, it is common for such policies to require officers to list the contents of containers inside the vehicle, and I have no reason to believe that they were violating procedure by searching her backpack. Additionally, both Officer Banks and Lieutenant Turner appear to be highly familiar with the sovereign citizen arguments that Ms. Smith advanced, and although their conversations with her at some points became antagonistic, for the most part they remained calm and respectful, and seemed to have a genuine desire to educate her. I commend these officers for their patience when dealing with Ms. Smith's inaccurate legal views, and their efforts to correct the errors in her beliefs. Ms. Smith gets an F for demonstrating a complete lack of knowledge about Florida traffic laws, blatantly misrepresenting state statutes and the Constitution, and allegedly driving with cocaine in her vehicle while under the influence. Now, although she never referred to herself as a sovereign citizen, based on the arguments that she made during this traffic stop, she appears to at least subscribe to sovereign citizen viewpoints on the right to travel. As we have discussed on previous episodes of ATA, the sovereign citizen ideology is largely based on perpetuating legal misinformation, cherry-picking irrelevant statutes, and citing antiquated, out-of-context case law, and the movement's views have largely been rejected in the modern courtroom. I would encourage Ms. Smith to conduct research on the right to travel and state licensing requirements using reputable legal sources, and if she has not done so already, to seek treatment for any substance abuse issues she may be struggling with. If you are interested in learning more about sovereign citizens, then check out my second channel where I addressed many of the core ideologies. You can find a link to that video in the description below. Let us know if there is an interaction or legal topic that you would like us to discuss in the comments below. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to check out my second channel for even more police interaction content.